Villainous Husband, Chapter 3 page 3. Chapter 3. My head shouted no, but my body laid firmly on the bed. There was no original novel to refer to what to do because I was just an extra who appeared briefly at the end of my life. To be honest, I don't know if the Empress that was there when Rhaenyra met Serafina was Angelica or not. It was because the name of the Empress did not appear in the novel. Could it be that Angelica died soon after she got married, and the Empress in the original was someone else? The fifth Empress? It is quite possible. I sat down and looked at Rhaenyra, who was exhaling his breath and lowering his eyes. What if he kills me because my dress is so layered that it's boring to take off? It may seem like I might be overreacting, but anyone in this situation would be like me. For the first night of a young man and woman, it wasn't a strange atmosphere either. I could see myself trembling in Rhaenyra's eyes. At first glance, rather than lust or desire, his eyes were shining like a cat playing with a mouse it had caught. Why are you shaking like this? Wouldn't it be normal for the bride to be nervous on the first night? You keep stuttering. Is this also because of the chronic disease? No, it's not. I almost jumped, though I froze. I was really glad that I didn't react to Rhaenyra's words. However, nothing else was too fortunate. Rhaenyra's hand reached under my back. It was to untie the ribbon that tied my dress. Mine and Rhaenyra's center of gravity shifted behind me, causing my upper body to slowly move back. I involuntarily grabbed his shoulder, trying not to fall backward. Oh, I'm sorry. How dare I touch your body? Rhaenyra doesn't like anyone touching his body recklessly. He really hates it. I quickly removed my hand and bowed my head low. At that moment, I kept hoping he would say, "You've ruined my fun," and leave. Though I'm not an idiot either, so I think I know how this is going. In the first place, I have no confidence to satisfy this person. Even though Rhaenyra took a lot of women in the original book, he did not experience any pleasure in relationships with other women other than Serafina. That was not all. Having an unsatisfactory relationship, his mood consistently went down. This means that it is going to be more difficult to please than usual. Angelica may have learned a little bit about that skill before she got married, but I don't remember. I don't know any of that. I couldn't remember if the assimilation of her body and mind was less fulfilled, or what Angelica was like before today. It was a big deal. You are quick-witted. Several thin silk ribbons were untied from behind. I don't know how he can solve it so well without looking at it. And, before I knew it, my bare shoulders were exposed. Still, I kept my hands unsteady, keeping my head low, and was very nervous. Oh, my Empress, not bad. That is what he said to me. At the same time as his cold, smooth lips touched my collarbone, my wedding dress skirt was pulled back. The young Empress, who had just come of age, looked nervous all night. From the moment before the wedding and the priest, she was trembling so much that if other people saw it, they might have felt sorry for her. But, she was straightforward and clever that he couldn't believe she was trembling so badly like this. In the room, she continued to utter ridiculous things. Rhaenyra was spontaneous, instinctive, and well forgotten of everything he was not interested in, but as he took on the Empress, he traced back the information he had heard about the bride a few days ago. Did they say she was stubborn and proud of herself? Some idiot brought the completely wrong information. The Empress was not arrogant at all. She answered him quickly, didn't let his difficult questions go in vain, nor did she touch Rhaenyra's body at all. When she made a mistake, she immediately realized she was wrong and fell straight down. How many servants' heads were blown away because they didn't do it properly? How was it during the middle of the night? The Empress didn't try to satisfy him in any way. Although she was trembling and obedient, she only kept the principle of not touching the Emperor's body. He wasn't very impressed, but still, he wasn't offended. Rhaenyra was curious, wondering how long the Empress would be able to not offend him, and when she would make a mistake, he kept pushing her. She didn't make any mistakes until the very end. Even after she was exhausted, she fell asleep only after Rhaenyra gave her permission to sleep. As the Empress fell asleep, Rhaenyra began to remove the tangled pins one by one from her hair. At the important wedding, there were dozens of thin, sharp pins that secured her hair so that not a single strand fell. Oh, it must have been very annoying for her hair to be tangled and pulled while the rough behavior continued, but the Empress did not express any sympathy. She never complained of her discomfort in the slightest. As Rhaenyra removed her pins one by one for her fun, her hair, which had been curled and put up, began to come loose one by one. Her hair color that came out was like the pink roses blooming profusely in the imperial palace garden that were dried beautifully. Although with her personality, Rhaenyra, who was counting her hairpins one by one while listening to the even breathing of the sleeping empress, soon got bored of it. It's boring. When he thought it was rather bothersome, he reflexively yawned. He lay down next to the sleeping empress. The sound of the empress's breath was even and deep. What was her name? Well, it didn't matter at all. He gave up recalling. If necessary, he can ask again later. 10 times or 20 times. If the empress ever gets annoyed, he can just hit her neck. It would be interesting to watch how long this woman will never cross the line. And, just like that, Rhaenyra Actilus fell asleep in a place other than his own bedroom. My whole body hurt as if I had been beaten. I closed my eyes and slowly clenched my trembling fingertips. Rhaenyra was set to have good night skills, but unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it at all. I was so nervous that I couldn't feel anything but a dull pain that seemed to come from a faraway place. I didn't think I enjoyed Rhaenyra, though strangely, I was reluctant to stop. Why the hell would I do that? After trying to ponder for a moment, I stopped. It was because you shouldn't try to judge His Majesty's intentions with the brain of a commoner like me. Ugh. But, my back is itchy. Is this hair? I'm certain I didn't untie my hair before I went to bed. You were wriggling, Empress. Oh. At those words, I stopped wriggling. Come on, I will count to 3. 1, 2, ugh. I need to open my eyes before he counts to 3. When I opened my eyes, under the bright morning sunlight, a more beautiful man was lying obliquely and gazing at me. If I were a sculptor, his face and body were so perfect that it would make me go back to the studio crying and shatter all the work I had made so far with a hammer. Since it was morning and I was still not fully awake, I had a moment to admire the subject without fully realizing. Then, I suddenly came to my senses. No, why is His Majesty still here? It was annoying to go back. Oh, it was annoying. If that's the case, it's understandable. He hates that the most in the world. Nodding my head, I quickly grabbed this castle. Did I just ask out loud why His Majesty is here? Did I seriously do such a blasphemous thing? Hey, don't you know that even a fool can read your face? I was flustered like a fool. It was because I had no idea how to make my thoughts invisible to Rhaenyra. And, it was a little embarrassing to see Rhaenyra and me in bed alone in bright daylight like this. When I looked away, I found wedding shoes, ribbons, and countless underskirts were all scattered in a mess. My hair was half loose for some reason, and only my left back was tickled. Rhaenyra stretched his slender body, before raising his upper body. The Empress is rather lazy. With that said, I was terrified and looked around, trying to find a watch. It's past 9. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra, who had a mind-reading technique, kindly answered me. I was horrified. Even though I came from the 21st century in Korea, where there was no tyrannical monarch, no matter how tired I was, I couldn't have known that it was too late for the imperial family to wake up at 9 am. The kings of the Joseon dynasty would get up at 5 am and greet each other. Oh, since there is no one higher than His Majesty the Emperor in the palace, I can omit the greeting. Rather, why didn't anyone wake me up? While I was confused, Rhaenyra continued to ring the bell. Only then did the maids enter the room with our clothes. He yawned loosely one more time by my side. You are not colorful at all, monotonous and boring. That's quite flimsy. Dart. Didn't he say they did well in choosing me yesterday? Also, didn't he say it wasn't bad for an empress like this? Well, it doesn't matter. I understand since his whims are beyond imagination. Rhaenyra, who left the saying it's not fun, which he had already said 20 times a day, took off the blanket and stepped out of bed. Please, take it seriously. Wouldn't it be a problem if I got bored and killed the Empress because of that? Why, yes, I will fix it. Good. At that, he walked barefoot on the carpet in the bedroom. Ugh. As I looked up, I hurriedly shut my eyes again. It was because it looked like he wasn't wearing a thread. The maids approached Rhaenyra and held out his clothes, but he struck them with a single gesture as if annoyed, and dropped them to the floor. Then, he casually left the Empress's bedroom, naked. I stared at the door where Rhaenyra had left. I didn't even think about trying to control my facial expression. Now that I'm not in the same place as him, I can express my stupid expressions to my heart's content. Then, the maids came to me. Probably because they were the ladies of a pretty good family. Although they often had Rhaenyra like that, they had a very professional expressionless expression. I'll help you get ready. At first glance, it seemed like my new identity was newly engraved as I saw them politely bowing their heads in front of me, washing their hands and bringing out my clothes. Saliva ran down my throat.